Welcome to Manna from Heaven with Sharon Gaines Lee. God says to us in Philippians 4:19 that He would supply all of our needs according to His riches from heaven. Aren't you ready to eat? I am. Everything we need pertaining to life and godliness is wrapped up in our relationship with Christ Jesus. And He supplied everything we need to live this life. So come join me. Let's have a conversation and eat together. Hurry up. Don't miss out. Come on, come on. Hello, welcome to Manna from Heaven with Sharon Gaines Lee on Kingdom Purpose Television. And I'm so glad you joined me today. You're going to be excited about it too. Today I have with me Rebecca Wessel. She's from Trier, Germany. And I have with me Judy Webb, and she is from Pennsylvania. She's from upstate Pennsylvania. And so today we're going to talk about narcissism. I think this is a great topic to talk about, and we're going to talk about it from different aspects. Rebecca is going to talk about narcissism in the workplace. Judy's going to talk about narcissism in marriage, and I'm going to talk about narcissism in the church, because all three of those places are important, and narcissism is present in all of those on all of those sites. So we want to talk about it a little bit, and and I'm sure you can you'll be able to relate to it, and that's what we want. We want it to be relatable, and we want to discuss it because it's not something that you would normally talk about within the church, and we need to talk about it. We don't talk about it within the workplace. We just talk about whether we don't like a boss or we do, or he's so domineering, or we'll say our marriage is horrible, but we don't talk about details about it. And so we need to know how to recognize a narcissist from the very beginning, to be able to know so we can navigate around it. So today we're going to have a calm conversation about it with Rebecca and with Judy and myself. We're going to talk about it. We're going to show you how we were affected by it and how we had to navigate around it. And so come join me and join this Manna from Heaven, Sharon Gaines Lee, with Judy and with Rebecca, talking about narcissism. So come on and join me and enjoy yourself. See you soon.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to Manna from Heaven with Sharon Gaines Lee on Kingdom Purpose Television. Today I have with me Judith Webb from Pennsylvania, and I have Rebecca Wessel from Trier, Germany. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today. This is a great topic, and I love that we're addressing this because it's not usually addressed, I don't think, but we need to address narcissism. Don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we do, because it's all over. It's not just in the schools and our workplaces, in the churches, just like it's in families, it's everywhere. And so we need to know how, because it's going to be here for the rest of our lives, to be honest, but we need to know how to navigate around it, what to be afraid of, what to look for, what to not look for. And so I brought us together because I think we need to handle this and deal with it at the level that we're at. So thank you for joining us again today. And I'm going to start with you, Judy. Judy, tell me a little bit about your experience. Have you experienced narcissism at any point? I know that's a question.
Yes. And the sad thing is, I honestly didn't know what a narcissist was until my last marriage. And I just thought, geez, finally I have someone that truly loves me. I mean, he was so attentive, and they say that they love bomb you. They do.
Explain love bomb stuff.
Oh my God. I was getting calls like all the time. I just need to hear your voice. And how are you doing? And oh, I just miss you so much. And back then when I started dating him, we still got our phone bills in the mail. And so the bill was so thick because of all the calls, I don't know if you remember that. They don't do it anymore. I would have pages and pages full of calls, like all day, all night. And I was just like, wow, finally someone that really loves me and, would buy me things and take me out to dinner. And so I was just, you get blindsided because every once in a while something will happen that you're questioning.
That's what I was going to ask you, Judy. Were there sort of signs when you look back? Like, what kind of signs did you see when you look back?
Well, one of the things is like anytime I was with him, well, of course he was a pastor. So anytime I was with him, if someone called him, he would always tell me to be quiet. Don't say anything. And I thought that was kind of strange. I was like, well, why do
Like
I
if
have to
somebody
be
called him on the
quiet?
phone?
Yeah. If someone would call him on the phone, he would always tell me to be quiet.
Okay.
And so that, kind of hit me as a
Red
flag. Like, why do I have to be quiet? Or, who are you talking to that they can't know that you're with me is what it was. And then there would be times where he would I couldn't get a hold of him, if I tried to call him. And so, that kind of stuff went on for quite a while. And then that's when someone had called me and said that he was dating 3 women in the church. And I was like, what?
And this was before you were married to him or afterwards?
Yeah.
I mean, or before?
Yes. Before.
Okay.
And I asked him about it, and he said that's absolutely not true, that people are jealous of him. And, that's why they're, saying the things that they were saying. And he's a man of God. I believed him.
Right.
I came from preaching, like my grandfather, my father, they're pastors and preachers, and I watched them growing up, and they didn't lie. So I thought, there's surely no way that a man of God is going to lie to me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I see why you would think that. Didn't know your grandfather, but your dad, I knew. And he was a very, very honorable man. He's still alive, an honorable man to us.
Yes.
So I see why you would take that position.
Right. And so everything I asked him about, he would tell me it's absolutely not true. And so I just, believed him. And it just seemed like, I had some reservations about it. And that's why I did pray about it before marrying him. And God told me not to. And I told him what God said. And he told me God did not say that. God told me we're soulmates and that we are to work in the ministry together. Yeah. And that's all I ever wanted, was someone that I could work in the ministry with. And he had no intentions of ever working in the ministry with me. That's what narcissists do. They love bomb you. They get what they want from you. They abuse you mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, so that you cannot function without them. And so, yeah, that's where he would, daily I got told how ugly I am and how fat I am, and that nobody would ever want me, and I'm not a good person. And it was on a daily basis. And he would say things like, you did this. And I was like, I did not. And they honestly make you feel like you're going crazy because they start blaming you for stuff or saying you said something that you absolutely know you did not say.
Right.
And the whole time they're doing this to you and knocking you down, they're out telling people how crazy you are. So that when the truth comes out, nobody's going to believe you, because he's already laid the foundation course of how crazy you are. Right. Yeah. So people just, and people that associate with narcissists, of course, they won't believe it because he has them so fooled. They have that ability to have crafty behind closed doors. There's someone totally different than who they are in front of people.
Right. I came from a church like that in the town that you're in now, and that pastor he just passed not long ago, but he was very much like that. He could corral people around him, like he was a spiritual leader and nobody else could be like you. They depended on him. And so, and then in the background, he was doing whatever he wanted to do. to his wife, to other people. He was just doing what he wanted to do. And if you don't begin to call that stuff out and call a spade, then it becomes something else. Because he can make you think a spade is an apple.
Yep. Yeah, that's
The
true.
art of their craftiness, isn't it? So stay there. Don't go away from that. I want to talk about this some more. So Rebecca Wessel from Trier, Germany. Hello.
Hello. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hi.
So what are you up to, Rebecca?
Yeah, so I also did make a few experiences, but
Yeah.
not with that kind. Well, I know the background from the church, which you have said. We were kind of related with our church somehow. We had the connections. So I kind of know parts of the story. And the sad thing is with the church, we had a very good time.
Yeah.
We had something like a revival, but then a few years ago, like 2015, we had another split. Many of the folks who wanted progress actually left because the leadership didn't care much about growth. And now we have a leadership which is kind of going backwards. And this is where we are now. But my situation I wanted to share was actually more related to
work. Okay.
Yes. In the workplace, I met people, but it's more like in a sneaky way. So I've had issues, especially with my seniors, with my bosses. So just to give you an example, when I first started in this job, I had this project manager, and he's not this kind of ta-da person. I'm the best. Actually, if he appears, he's stuttering, he's very kind of like insecure. And when he explains something, he switches the topic in one thought like 5 times. Like he doesn't even clearly know what he wants to say. But then after talking like for 2-3 hours, he leaves you alone. And I was like, what am I supposed to do now? I was starting, and I really wanted, I was really enthusiastic. I wanted to be good, and I was happy to be in the work, to finally get a paid job and a secure one. And then I'm sitting there, and what's supposed to do? And I know I can't think. So I came up with my own ideas, and I started to work in a way, okay, when it's so unspecific, I just start off what comes up to my mind and draft up something. But whatever I did, everything was wrong. And it was not good enough. I didn't say ABC. I told you DEF. So I said, okay. So I went back to my desk, did DEF. I didn't say do DEF, do MNO. And he would zigzag like this all the time. He would constantly give me the feeling that I'm dumb, that everything's wrong, that I don't listen. And then I would try to communicate with him. He would sit on the desk right opposite of me. And I would signal him, he wouldn't respond. I would say his name, he would not respond. I would write him an email. Why do you write an email to me? I'm sitting right opposite of you. So, and stories like this. And then he also started out of the blue saying things like, I make you responsible. I would ask, responsible for what? Yeah, for all the misery in the world, for all the—
He would say that to you?
He would say that. He would—
That's not against the law for him to say that at your workplace?
Even if there was, nothing much would happen, because that's the worst part of it, was the managing director would cover him because he's good best friends with him. And yeah, he would yell at people. He would be very, very, very quiet most of the time. He would say a word, but then burst out screaming at people, like snapping. And after 3 years, I escalated. After a certain situation, I escalated to the managing directors and said, please put me in another department. I no longer want to work with this guy. And they are like, they didn't even listen much. They just said, and what about the project? that's all they cared about. And I said, okay, I'm going to finish this project, but then it's at least allow me to sit in a different office. Well, that they allowed me. So, well, after this escalation call, a few days afterwards, I actually got sick.
Really?
I was feeling like I was getting dizzy, and it was so strange. It was like I was drunk. That's how I felt for days. And it was awkward. I thought it was a connection, sort of, but my self-confidence and all of that was very, very low.
Yeah.
On the one hand, I knew I was kind of good, but I couldn't really show it. So, and I was starting to have self-doubts and all of that. And
so, Rebecca, you dealt with this for 3 years.
Yeah, and my colleague said, "Oh, you have such a patience. I couldn't have such a patience like you." But now I was actually wondering with myself, why did it take me so long to get out of the situation?
Yeah. Rebecca, are you here?
Yes, I'm back.
Hey, welcome back, Becca. You were talking to us about your job and about you said you were there for 3 years. 3 years under this tyranny, right?
Yeah, for 3 years, and then I got moved to another department, and now after several years later, earlier this year, they started coming back to me, wanted me to work with this guy again.
Why? Because they couldn't get anybody else to work?
Yeah. So, and first he approached me, was like, "Oh, it's just a small thing. You just try to reconstruct this problem. Like, I'm having this problem with my software. Just check and test if it has the same behavior." Well, initially that was the request. And then I also got an email from the managing director, him assigning me on this to support my colleague. So I was like, okay, I cannot really say no to this.
Why not, Rebecca?
Because for me and my thinking was, okay, that kind of still some sort of authority, especially when it comes from the director, like from the highest position in the company. It's like, to me, also the way I've been raised, it's been quite authoritative. And it's still kind of stuck inside of me. So I do respect those people for the positions they're in and the responsibilities they have. So it's for them. Well, I have been learning. Meanwhile, I'm in the process of learning. I'm still not quite through yet, but I'm learning to say no. I've been learning to say no to certain people who get too demanding. It's easier if they're same level, but if a certain person has a certain rank,
right,
it feels like I'm feeling intimidated.
So, and you know what? It's very interesting, Becca. It's very, very interesting that you're saying that, because that thing of authority, I mean, it is so misused, misrepresented. It's like the same thing when, and I'll say it because I can say it, you don't have to say anything. When we were dealing with the pastor from the church in Indiana, Stanley, and he used the word, he was always that authority. You have to respond to authority and you have to honor. And that's from the word, but it can also be mishandled. And also with the word, forgiveness and trust. The forgiveness and trust have two different definitions. They do. You can trust the person. You cannot trust the person and forgive them. You know what I mean? You can honor a person. You can. You just have to. But the enemy likes to confuse it so that you think, you're in condemnation and I have to do this. Even though you have no peace to do what you're doing, you do it. And the level that we're supposed to go by is our peace level, not by what somebody's trying to convict us of. Right? Would you say, Judy? I mean, if somebody else is trying to convict us of something, we're called to walk with God. We're not called to necessarily, and hear what I'm saying, walk with each other first. Our obligation is to God first. And people manipulating that and coming into and trying to put bits and pieces in it is manipulation. It's witchcraft. And it is big in the church. It is big. And I want to blow it off the top. I will do it. I can't keep quiet about it because I don't think that what I went through, I don't want it to be wasted. I really, really don't. So at the risk of me offending people, which I'm not deliberately going out to offend. I want to help people.
Mm.
I'm not in unforgiveness. I love people. I don't want to break people because, I mean, there was a time when I could not talk about this because it was under that umbrella of unforgiveness, even though I would not have said it then, but that's what it was. So I could not talk like I'm talking now. But I love people. I love people enough to know that I'm going to take my chance because I don't want people to go through what I went through. And that's the way you feel about it, Judy, the way you're talking
Absolutely.
about your marriage is because you said it to me, didn't you?
Yes, yes. Yeah, and it's even with you, Rebecca, when you don't have self-confidence, it is honestly like you're wearing a label. You can abuse me. You can manipulate me. You can talk to me any way you want. And so you have to really work on yourself to get your self-confidence up.
Yeah.
The highest boss has a boss. They answer to someone. And so you don't have to just take that abuse. And I don't know if you're praying and trusting God in this situation, but God, I've seen him do some things that, you know, people have to be careful who they're messing with.
Yes.
And God doesn't take it lightly when people mess with his children. He doesn't take that. I mean, just as a parent, you don't want someone messing with your child. You're going to defend that child and do all that you can to keep them from being hurt. Well, God feels the same way about you, and he loves you. And so you've got to put this situation in his hands and let him deal with them. But in the meantime, you do have to speak up for yourself. And I know that it's hard because for years, that's why I suffered so much abuse, because I just took it. And God doesn't want us to be a doormat where we're just walked
I don't know
on
why we think
and
that's Christian. Somehow we've convinced ourselves that that's Christian. Like the church has convinced us, the ones who talk, who got the big mouths like me, like you know that there's something wrong with that. No, you have to speak up. You know, mushrooms need a certain atmosphere to grow in so that they can grow. And fear needs a certain atmosphere.
Yes.
Right.
And here's the thing, I started. And I actually did say something because out of this tiny little request, something bigger came. And I actually went to my senior to ask him, because I wasn't sure. Sometimes, you know, the managers don't coordinate among each other. And so I went to my senior to inform him, you know, I'm having this little side project here, just for you to know. I will put so and so much time on it. So he was informed. And then later on, when he saw how I was doing and what was going on, he actually was one of those nice, understanding guys. You know, you got to see in what kind of situations he is, because the atmosphere around this particular colleague was so dense. You know, he could come in the room and it's like, don't dare to light a match. Boom.
You're right.
And you know, but you gotta understand with the situation, his wife divorced him, his children don't want to see him. And in my mind, it was, that's his own responsibility. He's not willing to change his character. No wonder they don't want to stay with him. But he's with his back against the wall, and isn't this what a Christian's supposed to do? Help the ones in need. And I'm like, hello, excuse me.
Rebecca, is that what they would say?
Like,
Rebecca,
yes,
that's what they would say?
That's what he said. And I'm like, excuse me, I've been here. I feel like trapped now. First of all, there's the big boss assigning me on this. Then it's you coming who wants demanding me to provide a solution for this. And my fear in the back of my head was, when this project fails, because he's so behind the deliveries, that he's just looking for a person to point fingers. Well, it wasn't me, you know, it was my colleagues who were not supportive.
Right.
And I refused this. So I was actually fighting this. And one way of fighting this, because I didn't really feel hurt, was just sneaking out, kind of like. And I mean, one tip my senior gave me, you know, he also knows him, and that he could the way he is, he said, for everything, for what he says, confirm it in written back, and for everything he writes or you exchange in writing, confirm it back verbally. So to have it all settled and communicated and documented, because this guy would try to twist everything.
Right,
so
right.
Even when I said to him, I'm you initially said it only takes half a day. Now I'm at 3 days. But why are you taking so long just to set up this environment for the coding and all? It was so badly documented, and I was trying, it was kind of like a scavenger hunt, finding all the right tools and all. Well, why? It just takes 5 minutes. I'm like, with this way and the tools that are provided, no way.
Thank you for tuning in to Manna from Heaven with Sharon Gaines Lee. I hope you enjoyed the tapes on narcissism with Judy Webb and with Rebecca Wessel and with myself, Sharon Gaines Lee. And I mean, they were tremendous. I enjoyed the interview so much. If you want to watch it again, you can go to my YouTube page, Divinely Designed Women of Wisdom, and you can watch it as much as you like. It's free. But when you go there, you have to subscribe, like, and share. Subscribe, like, and share, because we want to pass it on to people. We don't want to just keep it amongst ourselves. So I want you to subscribe, like, and share. I mean, if you're going to give it a thumbs up, not a thumbs down. You can if you want to, but let's give it a thumbs up and listen to it over and over as much as you want. Glean and get as much from it as you can. See you, and join me next week. Join in next week, because we have some terrific topics coming up. So I'll see you there on Manna from Heaven with Sharon Gaines Lee. Bye-bye.